I have my eyes. I have my cunning. And I have my zombie takeout.
What's up? Welcome to episode 336 of Zombie Takeout, the B-Movie and Cult Movie Podcast. I'm Uncle John.
And I'm Scotto.
And without any further ado, let's just get straight to this week's movie, which is from 1982, The Beastmaster. Of course, that brings us to the impromptu plot summary, sponsored by animals. Sometimes they're better actors than humans.
And also brought to you by Leisure Investment Company. Does that really inspire confidence in the quality of the film you're about to see?
No. If you don't mind, I'd like to take a crack at the summary for once.
What?
Now, a long time ago, in a time before pants, Mikey from Parker Lewis Can't Lose grew up into Mike from V, who was apparently also Dr. Dolittle, and then he briefly met one of the second-rate replacement angels from Charlie's Angels, but then he found out that Zed from Men in Black was planning to sacrifice her. So he went off to rescue her, and on the way he met the father from Good Times, who was playing bodyguard to the cousin of the second-rate angel, and they joined the rescue attempt. But then Zed captured both the second-rate Charlie's Angels replacement and the father from Good Times. So Mike had to rescue them both, and then one of Mike's ferrets killed Zed, and it all ended with a pointless battle scene that had more pyro than the entire rest of the movie.
You left out the humongous killing his father, his adopted father, and then leading the battle at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Hilarity ensues.
Hilarity ensues.
Now, this was an interesting combination of a few things. It was obviously Conan the Barbarian because it was 80s sword and sorcery shit.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Oedipus with the whole prophecy that, the son of the king is going to kill, the guy who wants to be king. Little touch of Oedipus there. And then, of course, lots of Dr. Dolittle.
Right.
Because he's the Beastmaster.
What inspired someone to say, let's put Dolittle in this? Who the fuck did that? I mean, it's Coscarelli, actually.
Yeah.
I think he wrote and directed this.
I believe so. He also did John Dies at the End. He directed it.
Oh, right.
So, yeah, he's got a history. And there's an interesting shade of Macbeth at the very beginning. They kind of tip that off. He's not of woman born.
Right. So, I mean, he goes to classic literature for his schlock.
Coscarelli. Well, I mean, Shakespeare did have his share of schlock.
That's true. That's true. In fact, one could say, I mean, aside from the poetry he used, the actual stories of Shakespeare
are very soap opera.
Just schlock.
Yeah. And that beginning when Zed, no, not Zed, I'm confusing the other character, Rip Torn's character.
Say Zed is dead.
Yeah, Zed's Dar's actual father. Rip Torn's character, what was his name?
I believe
Mayak or something?
He was Freddy Got Fingers' father.
Yeah, him. I went to Men in Black. Rip Torn's character attempts to kill Dar when he's still in utero.
In fact, when he's doing the sacrifice, I put my notes. Just remember, this is the father from Freddy Got Fingers.
Yeah. I shouldn't really say, what was Rip Torn doing in this movie because he's done a lot of paycheck roles. But they basically transfer his what's the word I'm looking for? Fetus into a cow from his mother,
right?
Magically, which is how he gets the animal powers. And then, as this witch is going to kill him after he's born, it gets very trippy, and the beginning is just an acid trip until Dar is born.
And I mean, we get the three witches, which of course
Macbeth.
That's straight out of Macbeth,
right?
In fact, they almost do the lines,
Yeah.
Bubble and cauldron bubble kind of thing. And then, of course, they laugh like Salacious Crumb.
Of course.
Lots of diabolical laughter in this one.
Well, I mean, it's a sword and sorcery movie.
Honestly, the Python had a huge influence on this too. There's
Probably,
so much
yeah.
Monty Python in this.
I mean, when Mendar gets a little older, when he turns into, Mikey from Parker Lewis Can't Lose, I just have to hit that reference again because it's kind of obscure.
Was he really Mikey from
Yes,
Parker Lewis?
young Dar was I can't remember the actor's name, Billy Jacoby, I think it was Mikey from Parker Lewis. Yeah. There's a bear attack, except the bear attacks on its hind legs.
Can a guy in a bear suit attack the farmers?
It actually kind of looked like a real bear that was trained to walk on its hind legs, or it was a really good suit. I don't know which.
Well, Coscarelli, he is known to have, the good practical effects.
That's true.
It's when he uses the non-practical effects that, holy shit. That's amazing.
And this really gets to my real big issue with the movie, aside from the acting. They really needed to put more money into the pants budget.
Well, it is a way to save money to just not have the cast wear pants.
But the bad guys wore pants. It was just the good guys who didn't. And I really just didn't need to see that much of John Amos. He's basically wearing a BDSM harness for like half the movie.
Oh, yeah. He's dressed like Grace Jones from the Conan movie.
Pretty much, yeah.
I think that Conan movie came after this, though, because...
You're maybe right. I think that was like
Conan
84.
the Destroyer, was later.
And there's a music cue that repeats through the movie. It starts when he's swinging around the stick as an adult, when he, finally goes on his quest. It's almost exactly the opening theme from the original Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
It's like 2 notes off.
And did you catch when he was, practicing with his sword on the top of the cliff, that I think The Force Awakens stole that?
Probably.
Only instead it was, Luke and Rey at the end on the top of the cliff.
Right. Yeah. And I also forgot that PG movies used to have nudity.
This is PG, you think?
I believe this was PG.
Wow.
Because I've seen this, many times when I was a kid, and it was on cable.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
funny.
don't think they cut much.
I could have sworn that I had seen this movie, but none of it was coming back to me.
Really?
This is the first time. Maybe I've seen a later one?
Maybe, or you've just seen enough parts of it, enough clips to kind of feel like you've seen the whole thing.
No, I don't think I've seen this one ever. I think nothing was coming back to me.
Now, this is based on an Andre Norton 1959 novel called The Beastmaster, but the story is changed dramatically, as the hero of the original novel was named Hosteen Storm, who was a Navajo fighter in a futuristic science fiction setting. Norton was unhappy with the liberties taken with the film script, and he asked for his name to be removed from the credits.
That sounds like it would have been a kick-ass movie.
Oh, yeah. I actually want to check out the book now. And something I learned from this movie, and this isn't my what have I learned, that's different, but heroes from the 80s, particularly in action movies, were serious creepers. When he meets Tanya Roberts' character, Kiri, he's spying on her while she's skinny dipping with a friend. And then he sends his ferrets in to steal her clothes. And he's basically, pulling the whole, jerk in a bar act on her.
Yeah.
Aggressively pursuing her.
And of course, in the movies back in the 80s, that works.
Mm-hmm. And then they get into this bit where they're kind of wrestling a bit.
Yeah.
And it just got incredibly uncomfortable. I think just overall, this movie kind of makes Hawk the Slayer look like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, Hawk the Slayer. See, here's my big question about this movie, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know Hawk the Slayer was straight up,
Lord of the Rings
fantasy.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings,
straight up
Dungeons
Heroes
and Dragons movie. Was this supposed to be serious?
I think it was, but it was the 80s. And I mean, it was the 80s, Hawk the Slayer was made in the 80s, but this was 80s.
Right. But it almost rings like it was more of a comedy than an actual serious straight up movie. There were so many things that were comedically shot in this,
Mm-hmm.
like specifically the night guards, I think they were called, when they all got killed in a row in the
Yeah.
game in perfect sync. I mean, there's a lot of Monty Python in this movie. I swear there was even one thing where they did like the Lancelot charging with the sword up to the, into the
Mhm.
town. I mean, there was so much Python.
Yeah.
And what the fuck were those space aliens or whatever? The things with
The
the
bat
weird
sort of things,
heads
yeah.
and the wings.
I don't know. One of them gives him a medallion early on in the movie. I don't know why he wanted the medallion. I must have zoned out a bit.
Like that was practically. I mean, it was without the spaceship, but it was Life of Brian,
Yeah, yeah,
where he gets saved by aliens, and all I kept thinking was seeing like the guy go, "You lucky bastard,
yeah.
lucky bastard."
But they showed up earlier in the movie, and he had to kind of sneak through a
Yes.
bunch of them. And
Well,
then
no,
one of them catches his sword and just gives him this medallion. I don't know why he wanted or needed the medallion.
well, that was such a what the fuck scene. That was like the first like, wait, what? I mean, he's in there. He rescues this guy that they're holding captive, but
Mhm.
then on the way out, they eat him. I think
Yeah.
that's what they do with what they're doing with them.
Yeah, effectively, yeah.
And then, but you're okay because the hawk is with you or whatever. The eagle is with you. So if you're with him, you're fine with us.
Mhm. And
It's just
speaking
like,
of the
wow.
hawk,
Yeah.
it had an awful lot of time to rescue the little girl before, Rip Torn threw her into the flame.
Oh Jesus Christ! The scene where the hawk just picks up the kid and flies
Mhm.
off with it,
She's
and
hanging there for like 5 minutes, it felt like with the flames licking her feet before the hawk swoops in and gets her. And
but
then, why didn't it just knock Rip Torn into the flames?
I mean that was straight up David Letterman too, where
Yeah.
like the hawk comes and steals the baby and flies off with it,
Mhm.
and even though it's like twice the size of the fucking bird, in this case it was like 4 times the size of the bird, and
Mhm.
he's still just flying off with it. I'm like, oh my god, that is the worst effect I think I've ever seen in a film.
And there's another scene where they're trying to get away on a boat that they're pulling on a rope. It's one of those ferries that, goes along a rope between both
Yeah.
sides. They cut the rope to get away faster. How does that work?
I don't know. Somehow, somehow the rope was tied to something, and as soon as they cut it, they started moving faster. I don't get it at all either. Or why they just stopped shooting at them and watched them sail away.
Yeah.
It was like, you could just kind of shoot up in the air, and I'm sure they would rain right down on them.
Now, not surprisingly, the Beastmaster was not a great box office success in the US, but later received extensive television exposure on cable in the US, particularly on TBS and HBO. TBS has to be where I've only seen it before now. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you probably saw a censored version.
I don't know, because I knew about the nudity. I was expecting
Yeah.
it. I knew she had a topless scene. And when we see Blind Zed at the end with the beard, they could have put a different actor in there for all I knew. He looked
Yeah.
that much different. I mean, all you recognized him by was the tattoo.
Yeah.
And like I said, they saved up the entire effects budget for the pyro in that end battle, which was
And
completely pointless.
I was so confused too, because I watched this in a couple sittings.
Uh-huh.
So I'd completely forgotten about the humongous from the beginning. So when they kill off Rip Torn, I'm like, why isn't the movie done?
Yeah, that should have been it.
What's going on?
I actually had that plot summary. It wasn't impromptu, I admit, written by that point in the movie, and I actually had to tack on that part about the pointless battle scene because I figured they kill Rip Torn, it's over.
Right. I'm like, wait, how is there 28 minutes left? It's like, wait, what's gonna happen next? They're like, there's something, there. I forget what the line is, but it's like, somebody's whatever is coming, and I'm like, what?
The
What did they
Junts.
say?
Those were the bad guys who he really never dealt with until the end. who had destroyed his village.
Well, right. I mean, if you're gonna honestly, if you're making a serious movie, they have to be with Rip Torn. You know,
Yeah,
there has to be a confrontation for all the marbles. Having it like just we knocked Rip Torn into the fire. That's the end.
and the ferret knocked him into the fire, or bit
Oh,
him
that
so
was
he
so
fell.
fucking funny as hell
It
too.
wasn't even Dar who did it.
That the ferret did it. I love that. I love the fucking ferret did it. There's so many goddamn funny scenes in this movie.
But I feel like they just decided, okay, we have budget left over. We want pyro. Let's just do this.
I know I've said this in the past, but sometimes you get that producer that's like, oh, it's got to have a big fire explosion thing at the end, or else I'm not paying you, giving you my money.
It's a good possibility, actually.
Like the what was it, the Wild Wild West movie?
The giant mechanical spider, yeah.
Right. Or no, that's right. It was the same producer that wanted Kevin Smith to do Superman.
Right.
He was obsessed with the giant mechanical spider.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that didn't happen, he went on to do Wild Wild West. He produced that, and there it was at the end. Whether it fit into the plot or not.
And there's this tacked on scene at the end. Back to Beastmaster.
Yeah.
It's the confirmation that, the love interest is with the hero now, so they kiss. And then it cuts to his bag where he keeps his ferrets and 2 little ferret cubs.
Oh my god,
out.
the fucking curtain call of the animals at the end.
And then the ferret, the adult ferret, turns to, I'm going to say puma, because every black cat to me looks like a puma. Every large black cat I think is a puma. It may not have been. It turns to the puma, and they kind of have this moment where they're kind of rubbing noses. It implies that the puma is the father of the ferret cubs.
No fucking way. I didn't even think of that.
I mean, obviously it's not, but it implies that.
No, I mean, really, the only thing missing from that curtain call scene at the end was the other ferret appearing Obi-Wan Kenobi style and giving the thumbs up like Jesus at the end of Orgasmo.
Did that ferret die when Rip Torn went into the fire?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't clear on that.
Yeah, and he was Dar was even trying to like reach for him, but he couldn't.
Didn't catch that. So that must have been the mother in the bag then at the end with the cubs, and apparently the puma may have been the father. Who knows?
No way.
I'm just saying it looked that way. I'm not saying it's possible. But it is a fantasy world where a guy can talk to animals because he was, magically removed from his mother's womb and put into the womb of a cow. So, who knows?
I mean, there was just so many great, like, Python references in this movie. Like, the whole the self-defense thing. Mm-hmm. Of course, I mean, he practically did the release the tiger bit.
Yeah.
And when they introduced that after the skinny dip scene or whatever, when he's actually talking to her after the thing was up,
being a huge creeper,
I just have, and the Oscar for Best Actress goes to not her.
Uh-huh.
Make Singer look like Olivier. And nothing says quality like a good Hogan's Heroes night filter.
Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, when is Mark Singer going to show up in a Sharknado movie? Because I figured he's kind of a has-been. Then I realized I checked IMDb and saw that he's been on Arrow from like the beginning.
Oh, really?
He's still working regularly. Maybe Tanya Roberts should be in a Sharknado movie because the last thing I saw her in was that 70s show.
I mean, I thought he was bad until then she showed up and I was like, oh, maybe he isn't that bad. And then, like, when he gets emotional at the end because he gets rejected, fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Like I've said every time we've talked about this one, why was Johnny missing this movie? Oh, one last bit of trivia. Josh Milrad, who played Tal the kid, the cousin of Kiri, went on to direct Real Spring Break Uncensored. I mean, he's done other credits, mostly editing, but he directed a Real Spring Break video.
All right, then.
On to sequels and remakes.
On to sequels and remakes.
Beastmaster received a sequel in 91.
That's very weird.
Called Beastmaster 2 Through the Portal of Time. This film was directed by the original film producer, Silvio Tabe. The director video third film was released in 96, titled Beastmaster 3 The Eye of Braxis. Both sequels feature Mark Singer in the role of Dar. The films were followed by a syndicated television series in 99. The television series changes the backstory of Dar, who is played by Daniel Goddard. I've seen 2, only remember it because Kari Wuhrer is in it.
That's the one I saw.
He ends up, either she ends up back then, or I think he ends up in modern times. That one was kind of enjoyable from what I recall, but this one was also enjoyable when I saw it back in the 80s.
Yes.
So. On to Brains.
On to Brains.
It was fun to look at. There were a couple of decent performances. Rip Torn was, beautifully over the top, and John Amos is always great. And there were parts I enjoyed, but overall it was just kind of meh. I'm going 2.5.
I think if you look at this as a comedy, I don't think Mel Brooks could have written a better parody of Conan than this.
Yeah, possibly.
And I mean, what is the point of putting out a Conan movie like a year after or 2 after
That's true.
the first Conan movie?
Right.
And yeah, there's just so much Monty Python over this. I'm going 4. It's just so bad it's good.
All right. And what have we learned?
That if I could talk to the animals, walk with the animals, I'd take on James Earl Jones or the Humongous.
And I learned that pants are evil, at least in this universe. All right, so in 2 weeks, I need next week off. So in 2 weeks, we'll be reviewing Fateful Findings. I have been looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I'm not prepared for this one at all.
Oh, it makes this movie look like fucking Shakespeare. It makes The Room look professional.
Whoa.
I will say that. I won't say it makes The Room look good, but it makes The Room look professional.
That's some big talk.
Until then, go to zombietakeout.com, check out the album art, the episode description, and of course the episode itself, which you're already listening to. Links to find us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and YouTube, as well as links to subscribe via RSS and iTunes. Please leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. And of course, if you enjoy the show, spread the word. Give us a little word of mouth. Of course, we appreciate all of the listeners we have, but more would be better. You also find the movie list, every movie we've reviewed so far, and every movie we're going to review, up through the science fiction double feature, The Day the Earth Stood Still, and Forbidden Planet. Still have to think of the song to remember the order. And the recommendations list. One of us actually recommended this, and it wasn't me. One of us recommended a bad movie, and it wasn't me.
It's just so bad. It's good. The other time where they had the night guard running around chasing after them, it was one of my favorite parts, probably, where he sends the weasels in to steal the key, but they steal the key, but instead they've got this night guard running after them, destroying all the doors anyway. But yeah. I just wish you could have heard I want to go to Hollywood too. So yeah, this needs midnight showing.
Oh yeah, I would love to see MST3K take a shot at this.
Yes.
Of course, you can email us, zombietakeout@gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail at 414-368-ZTO1, or for the Alphanumerico Challenged.
Oh, they can go fuck themselves.
414-368-9861. Of course, always remember that you will always be calling from the middle of Milwaukee, and until next time, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life, there you are. Titles, I have, all of my titles are good. Dr. Dolittle the Barbarian.
I have Conan the Doolittler.
Oedipus Dolittle.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Because it's very Oedipus.
Yeah, it is.
How to Tame Your Ferrets. Needs More Pants. And You Get a Paycheck.
I have, I said Conan the Doolittler, because it is a combination of Dr. Dolittle and Conan the Barbarian.
And Oedipus.
I have No Dar, Manimal the Barbarian, or The Purloincloth Letter.